Hello and welcome to the back nine coverage of the Green Monster sponsored team battle. I'm Ramie Millar with Home Again Disc Golf.
And I'm Daddario with Just Playing Disc Golf.
We're gonna see all of our sponsors here: Double Helix, Just Playing Disc Golf, Cosmic Disc Golf, and Home Again Disc Golf, all competing here for a local crown of ourselves.
All right, as we continue back on the course, we got hole 10 here, another par 4, 537 feet. Once again, we find ourselves in the woods, navigating these tight tunnels, just trying to get it up there at the fairway as far as we can. What's your play here, Ramie?
You definitely want to throw your straightest shot, whether or not that's a distance driver that you can flip up into the gap and just hold straight for a while, or some people might disc down into a mid. The goal is really to get as far forward as you can while staying down the straight path. Kick here is deadly.
And you can definitely tell there after that kick, Bigley's not too excited about where he ended up. He's going to have to do some work there off the fairway.
We're just taking a nice straight disc there that's got a little hyzer at the end. I don't mind once I get around that corner where it ends up. Once you kind of crest that corner, you can kind of make a lot of progress. A lot of thin, spread out trees give you a lot of different gaps to hit. Andrew throws a fantastic shot right down the middle.
Yeah, speaking of gaps hit, tough position here for Bigley. Doesn't seem too thrilled about the outcome.
Yeah, he definitely wanted to try and be aggressive there and try to pick up another stroke on us, but you can get into a lot of trouble if you don't just take what the course is giving you here.
And there we see a very similar thing to the front nine. A lot of greens very well guarded by trees as a great looking shot gets hung up there at the end.
Yeah, and Bigley's just scrambling there, just trying to find a way somewhere near the putting green, give himself a chance. It kind of kicks off a little bit there and finds himself on the right side of the tree line.
Oh, there's a good smooth looking forehand from you. Great shot.
Yeah, it's good he wasn't behind me because I definitely missed my gap there. Dave with a long bid. Oh, and cashes it just behind the tree. You can't see it. But a nice little 60-footer there from Dave. Maybe even 70. It was a long, long putt.
Those are the great putts. That carries the confidence over into the next few holes for sure.
Oh. Andrew tries to give it a solid bid, but it's hard after seeing a 70-footer go in. 50 feet seems a lot farther when you see somebody else hit one.
Whew, putts are raining down now. Great putt there for Bigley to, I believe that was to save his par.
Yeah, I do believe you saved par there. And then I tapped out a little birdie there. So Dave and I catch up. Another stroke on Bigley there.
Coming into hole 11, we take a little break from the par 4s and par 5s and find ourselves with a par 3. Another tight gap off the tee as you get partway down the fairway, just looking to keep it pushing forward.
Yeah, so going to this short basket here, there's a lot of little gaps you can get lucky through. The main rule is you just want to make sure that your disc is going left. This is kind of slightly downhill slope to the right, so if you get anything flat or slightly turned over, it'll just keep carrying that way.
That's ideal, get left.
You really are trying to just get lucky through some of these tree gaps. Albeit when you get closer to them, they seem like they're wide gaps. From back here, the gaps are very narrow.
Oh, sit down.
Ooh, tough kick for Andrew. Looks like it rolled a little bit too.
Yeah, so this is not where you're looking to be down the hill. Almost a blind shot up to the basket, but Andrew does that phenomenally. Bigley gives it a nice run from C2.
Feeling a little bit of a heat check after the last hole here.
And like we mentioned in the first round, even when you get near the greens, they're still highly contested. There's a whole bunch of wispy little trees here that are just blocking anything from this side of the basket.
So how is a a high level disc golfer like yourself? How do you approach that? You're playing pretty well. You've got some good birdies you strung together. Are you more aggressive on a line there, or do you see that as more of an opportunity to just play the hole, play for par, and move on to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, watching a lot of other people making all these putts definitely builds the confidence for you to go and run those putts. Unfortunately, I took an awful roll away and then an awful spit out there. So that definitely turned down my confidence a little bit for putting. Looks like Dave took a par, I took a bogey. I think Andrew took a par as well, and same with Bigley.
Well, here on hole 12, you get to see the work of all the effort you just put in climbing up the hill now to throw back down it. Really beautiful shot coming out the gap, just trying to push it down to the basket that's kind of tucked underneath that evergreen tree out there.
Yeah, and you have two options. There's a very tight forehand window on the left side that you can work your way down the hill just gently and kind of skip your way back to the basket. Or what everybody else is doing here is just trying to punch something down through the gap and you want to get it down to the ground. This is a very downhill hole just off the tee, and then even when you get down to the green, it's downward sloping all the way to the green. So you really want to find your way down to the ground to slow your disc down.
It's a really interesting way to design a hole. You want to have the confidence of a nice, powerful shot to get it through the gaps, but because you're throwing so downhill, to put too much power on it could put you in a pretty tough place if you're not clean. So it's a lot of angle control, nose control, and just understanding your discs and their flight. Another wonderful way that Green Monster demonstrates the teeth that it can have.
Absolutely. So you can see what happened here with Dave. He just took an ugly kick off to the left side. There's a great shot out here, and he's going to have a long putt for his par. Definitely see the elevation here as the green is definitely sloping away. And again, even when you get to the green, you have another tree to compete with.
Did you?
It's a great demonstration of understanding the angle on the flight of that disc right there. Great approach by Bigley. Also great approach by Andrew as well.
It's so hard to run that putt with the low ceiling and depth behind. I slid right under the basket. Got a nice little birdie there on the card.
That's a sweet one to have, especially when the rest of the cards getting the pars. Coming into hole 13, par 4, 594. You're kind of trying to get your disc out there straight, but the second shot's going to move you back in up to the right into the woods. So you have the opportunity to push it out to the left, opening your angle up to the basket, but giving yourself a longer second shot, or you can play a tighter shot to the right, but giving yourself a bit of a harder angle to the basket. As you can see, Bigley here kind of saws that off to the right. It'll be interesting to see what angle he has going into the green.
Yeah, I think a nice smooth forehand out here, kind of what Andrew did. You just want to keep it as straight as you can and try to beat the corner and give yourself a chance to get into the short basket. The short basket is very tucked back into the wood line. There's not a lot of access points to it, so you really want to keep yourself out straight into the open area as much as possible. Getting too far to the right really cuts off your angle. And you'll see that here with Bigley. He got real tight. Tries to go over the top. Very excited for his slight rollout. You can hear him in the background.
Mm-hmm. That's the danger of the occasional hero shot. It sometimes can work out really well for you, and sometimes kind of puts you in a similar position to what you were just in.
Yeah, and I turned mine over and got way down to the left side where I had a big pine tree in my face, and there was only one shot, and that was to throw a forehand roller high. Not ideal trying to get up a hill back into the woods.
Yeah, and you can see right there, I mean, just how tucked into hillside in the woods that basket is, another very difficult green to kind of approach to, especially when you have a tough angle like this, trying to sweep something high. Lots of danger to knock that disc down early.
Now I know you have the capability of throwing a thumber here. Is that something that you would try to do? Try to get around the trees there?
Oh, absolutely. I would try to push that drive out to the center as far as I can, and I'd be throwing that thumber into the green here for sure.
That's definitely a utility. I don't think many of us had on our cards to be able to throw up and over the top of the trees. We had to kind of work our way around the tree line. And it's really difficult throwing a very high forehand like that. It's just not natural motion to be throwing that vertically and that forward.
I think I was following another card on this hole at the time, but there were at least 3 overhand shots thrown on that card. One was success, a couple not so much with success, but definitely a lot of different plays given the angle of the fairway for sure.
So our cards struggled a little bit on that hole. Dave splashed out of his birdie attempt.
Hole 14 is a par 5, 646 feet. Another technical drive, as you have to kind of push something out here and travel to the right a bit, but not so far right that you get stuck.
Yeah, that was not the ideal way to display how to throw on this hole. You really want to put something high into the gap, turning over, and just kind of nestling on top of the hill. Andrew's trying to do that here, and it just fades out a little bit early and gets stuck on the woods on the left, which is very difficult to get through.
And you can see it just barely. There's definitely some slight elevation as you go up this fairway, causing you to really question how much angle you have to put on your disc.
Stay up.
And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's just going to keep pushing to the right, but pushing forward the whole way through.
Now, at this point in the round, was the wind still kind of up where it was, or has it improved a bit?
Back here in the woods, it seemed like it definitely mellowed out a little bit. The rain had definitely stopped, but there's definitely a little bit of wind you have to take into account for. It's hard throwing through an open gap into the wind and then back into the woods because your disc is definitely going to fly a little bit differently as it keeps going through. So Bigley and I are just trying to get up here to the top of the hill and try to give ourselves a chance to get to the basket. Dave gets stuck up here against a tree after a very nice shot up into the gap. Give himself a little forehand shot. Just clips the tree and kicks left.
Okay.
Was it?
Did you hit it?
Oh, no, it's fine.
We were concerned about Dave hitting his hand there. And this is the tough stuff on the left side here where Andrew is.
Oh, there's the overhand shot.
So we're really looking to go straight down this gap here and just kind of fade off to the right. So I'm trying to pull the forehand out and try to squeeze on the right side of the big tree in the deep part here. I got these 2 trees in my face that I have to really work on getting around. And just kind of clip a tree last at the end.
That seems to be the story on a lot of these holes here. It's not so much are you going to hit a tree, it's which tree are you going to hit, and just trying to manage which one that is and how far down the fairway it can be.
And Dave flips this one over a little bit, and our camera has a little issue. So Dave took a bogey there. Ramie took a par. Derek and Andrew had to scramble their way up for double bogeys.
That's a solid par right there. That's strokes on folks on the hole for sure. Coming into hole 15, you've got a par 3 straight up the hill, 265 feet, probably playing over 300 feet of power as you go up this hill. The camera here doesn't do justice how much up of an uphill shot this really is, but just trying to push it straight up there, either playing up the center or maybe a little bit to the right of those big trees in the middle. But see what these guys have.
Yeah, I mean, it's so far uphill that we're all throwing distance drivers here, and we're really trying to get a hold of them. We're throwing our flippier distance drivers because we know that we're throwing uphill. They're gonna flatten pretty quickly and stable out. But it's a very difficult shot to get it up the hill.
Get up.
Nice Kevin Jones prodigy.
See, a lot of us got about 60% of the way up the fairway here.
Ramie, these are the holes that make me feel small sometimes, but it's fun watching watching pros not get up the hill either because it makes me feel like I'm a part of the crowd.
Absolutely, we all struggle, man. It's definitely a unique hole. You have to throw up a hill and you have to get enough turn on the disc while going up, which a lot of people don't have either that flippy of a distance driver in their bag, or it's just not a natural motion to try to get a disc to flip up and turn like that up that far up a hill. I've got a long bid here, probably 90 feet, trying to give myself a chance to try to get an extra birdie. And then I just hit a tree on the way up to the basket because there's trees around all the baskets here.
Trees and rocks.
Oh,
David.
Dave catches metal there.
But
All right, so coming into hole 16 here, all the work that you just did to climb up the hill, you're going to be using now to go back down the hill. 261 feet straight down to a basket sitting there.
oh,
That was a great looking shot. Definitely a hole that challenges your nose control as you're throwing downhill. Probably mostly putters off the tee here for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all trying to do what we did a few holes ago and just kind of throw a putter down to the bottom of the hill here and just kind of skip up to the basket. What do you go with here, Gary?
Believe it or not, surprise, surprise, I tried throwing a thumber off this tee pad, and it actually works pretty well. You got to get a little bit lucky, but either that or I'm throwing my berg straight down at the ground, trying to hit about 10 feet short of the basket and slide it up in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get a very good nose angle of that and just kind of pushed it flat and went well deep of the basket. Dave takes a horrible kick here off to the right.
A little bit out of position here, just an easy forehand up to the basket.
So I'm back here about 70 feet deep at the basket. Not ideal for a very short hole like this. Just come up short.
That's a pretty good run, though. I saw the fire in your eyes there.
Definitely wanted it. It's not one that you want to take pars on. It definitely feels like a must-get birdie. Dave's going for another turbo. Really wants to catch one on film.
Oh,
Just high right, just falls out of the basket.
you can definitely tell he practices those. He's pretty deadly with the accuracy on that.
Absolutely, and a great putt there from Andrew getting that birdie. Holding down the card for us. Somebody had to do it. There it is.
There it
Dave
is.
Finally got the turbo in. And I'll be tapping out of power, and Bigley will take a bogey, unfortunately, on that hole.
Hole 17, a nice big shot to sort of air your disc out a little bit. Par 3, 483 feet. Down the fairway on the left side, you've got some pretty thick woods and a mandatory that you have to stay to the right of. Big wide hyzers here to get down in, but definitely a reachable basket for the bigger arms.
Yeah, and you can just hear in the background the wind is just tearing through. I don't think I've ever played a round here where there wasn't a headwind off of this tee, and it was definitely a stiff headwind today. As you can see, Andrew's disc really just turned over and just kept going to the right, and he was throwing a very stable destroyer.
It's just a testament to being able to watch your card mates throw and really pay attention to the flight of their disc to make your corrections.
for that and going on hyzer.
Yeah, so ideally you really want to push out to the big tree out in the back with the pine that you can kind of see towering over everything else, and you just want to keep it on hyzer and just let it fade down the hill once it gets around the corner.
Hey, I told you where we wanted
See
to
a
land
couple
at.
of us just kind of flip over our discs and get going a little right. Definitely makes the birdie option a little harder.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 150 left to make.
Fair enough.
What a birdie to get though, especially with the angle that you'll see here soon on the green. It's you try to get some ground play, but you don't want to roll too far.
Yeah, that looks really good. Yeah, that is what they call ideal, Biggs.
And Biggs throws a great shot here. Keeps it on hyzer the whole way. Gets deep enough and just hyzers down the hill towards the basket. We actually had to stop and think here because a lot of us are so accustomed to playing the farther basket down the hill here, and we had to remind ourselves that we're going to the short basket.
And you can just see the effects of the wind as that wind kind of sweeps up the hillside. It gets underneath your disc and could definitely change the flight. Leaves you a lot more to think about on your approach.
Good up.
It's a good looking layup there.
Yeah, definitely wanted to run that, but after the low ceiling run that I had earlier that led to a bogey, I told myself it's time to just lay up for par. Gotta learn from your mistakes while you're on the course.
See if Andrew can put this one in here. Ooh!
Oh, just sits right on the rim and falls back in.
Dangerously.
Yeah, Andrew.
You gotta wonder if he was throwing a magnet there.
Definitely stuck in there. And Bigley just threw an incredible shot right down here to the basket. It was ideal and great putt to finish out that birdie. Going into the final hole, Ramie's down at -3, Bigley's at -2, Dave Dunn at even, and Andrew's at +4.
And what a great finishing hole for this course. 355 feet straight out into sort of a lima bean shaped green. Once again, not landing inside the stones is a hazard shot.
Shut it.
Dan Wilson's back there razzing Bigley.
Oh my gosh.
So after Bigley didn't quite make it onto the green, I thought I would power up a little bit here, throw a little bit more stable, a little bit faster disc, and just really punch it down onto the green. You can see you in the background. Just catch the top of the rocks to keep ourselves in bounds. I want to thank Kevin McAndrew and Pastor Jeff for laying that extra layer of brick there just to make sure that I stuck in.
The stone play, solid, where it worked out really well for you there.
Stay up and fade.
It looks like Andrew puts this out a little bit too wide. The wind never kind of allowing it to come back. He's going to find himself throwing 3 from that position.
Yeah, it's definitely a heavy crosswind right to left, and he got his disc a little flat there so that the wind was just kind of pushing him down rather than pushing him across. Whereas Dave gave himself nice and high, puts it right down on the island right next to the basket. Great shot by Dave.
Great shot.
So there's Andrew just chipping back up on here. Bigley came up just a hair short. Makes it into the small hole, but not the basket.
Nice big birdie putt here for you.
That'll seal the deal and take the win away from Bigley, who was playing so well in the front 9.
Well, it just goes to show you with a course like Green Monster, just because you have a great start doesn't always mean that you're going to be able to get it later, but I mean, good rounds by everyone involved.
If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Big thanks for all of our players that came out from all 4 of the sponsored teams.
Yeah, some great play by everyone involved. Wonderful to see the community of disc golf come together and just showcase some of these great companies and what they're doing locally.
Absolutely. And albeit I got the win on this card, the overall winner was actually Cosmic Disc Golf for today's battle. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep, a pleasure doing some commentary with you, Ramie.
Right back at you, Gary.